Hey guys, oh, motherfucker.
One take my hole.
Fucker. I thought it's all right. He's not hosting this one. We'll get going quick. I'm fucking on this.
Don't leave a gap that fucking big, you fuck.
Motherfucker. Get it out your fucking system. Get it out your system.
Oh.
Warbosses of Da ApORKalypse! Ladies and gentlemen, the Warbosses of Da ApORKalypse.
Hey guys, welcome to the Warbosses of Da ApORKalypse. Yes, we are back with another episode for you. And in this one, we are going to be talking about conversions, Ork conversions, and where we stand on them. Are you a real Ork player if you don't convert? And so yeah, and I think all of us have probably a slightly different take on this. We all like to kit bash and convert, and some of us scratch build as well. But yeah, it'll be an interesting one to get into. But before we get into all of that, let's introduce these war bosses. Obviously, there is myself, 6+ Stevo, sporting the rather fetching black 6+ Stevo shirt. Looking good, eh, Dread? What do you reckon?
Where'd you get that?
Oh, I don't know. Some dodgy salesman sent it my way, I think.
Oh, yeah?
Dodgy spiv.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I think it's more me than the yellow one. Although, because of my black wardrobe behind me, I'm like sort of only half and half. If it was all black, I'd just look like a floating head.
Well, I couldn't let you get away with having a black one without personalising it slightly further. Turn around for everybody. Nice.
Fucker. I'm trying it on. And I'm like, yeah, it's all right, isn't it? It's all right. And it's just like, the fuck is that?
Did she?
Mrs. laughing at me, like, what the fuck you put on my back? Like, so just, you know, I don't know.
Can't help himself.
No, he can't. Bless him. God bless him. So yeah, well, let's. So that's me introduced anyway. 6+ Stevo, the big deal, coming at you. Now, hand it over.
Bollocks over there.
Cheers, Scar. Now, hand it over to this git who is down in the other left corner. I think. Hopefully, it appears the same way for you guys as it's appearing for me. Mr. Dreadwar, say hello, buddy.
Hello, mate.
You.
Yeah.
How have you been, mate? How have you been?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
It's been a while since we've seen each other, isn't it? All of us.
It has, yeah. All of us have been preoccupied.
Yeah.
You sound like a bad thing.
That's it.
We'll get to you in a minute, Moody Bollocks. Yeah, I haven't seen you since we did the last episode, I think. We've chatted a little bit over Messenger, haven't we? But we've all been pretty preoccupied with our own
All done
shit.
really heavy material on people's videos.
Yeah. So anyway, Dread, what you been up to, mate? How have you been?
Not too bad. I haven't done too much hobby. I've been doing a little bit of painting, chipping away here and there, but not too much. Spending time with a girlfriend mostly, and yeah, that sort of stuff.
I saw your last live video. It was a good one.
Oh, yeah.
It was an enjoyable one. Yeah. No, I enjoyed it, mate. I enjoyed it. I mean, a lot of it was about me, so it was cool.
Oh, yeah.
It's my favourite subject. You know, you nailed it. But no, it was good, mate. It was good. And then down in the other corner, we've got. I was gonna know. Scar, how you doing, mate? How you doing? I was gonna say Moody Bollocks himself, but
Grand, how are you?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right.
I'm getting there, yeah.
You've got a new job, working your ass off.
I've disappeared. I've been working, yeah. So there you go.
But between us all, we've kind of left the Ork community. We've abandoned you guys, and I'm sorry on behalf of all of us. I'm sorry, but we're here for this. We're here for
We're
this,
all-
our monthly episode of this. We're going to keep this going, come hell or high water, no matter what's going on. We'll cover this. And this one's important to me. I wanted to keep doing this, even though I've kind of taken a break from the YouTube myself as well for a bit, hoping to get back into it soon. But I did not want to take a break from this because I think everyone gets yeah. And I think everyone gets a lot out of these. I think the community really seems to be digging these videos, and I definitely enjoy making them. I enjoy watching them back with the community when we do the premieres. It's awesome stuff. So if I do say so myself. And
it's all for one for all.
Hey. Which one's D'Artagnan then?
Me.
And last of all, bloody hell, if Scar's moody bollocks, then what the hell do I call the hobby git? How are you, Dim?
He's the only one that ain't in the mood.
Yeah, it's like a
hello,
parallel universe,
my
really,
old friend. Well, right now I'm the only Warboss who's finished his model, so you know, there we go, paint job. Yeah, look at that.
Shame.
Look at the
shame.
Those three.
Shame.
I finished the skin. Well, yeah, that's about it. I haven't hobbied in like a month and a half or something.
Yeah. Although everybody keeps persuading me to redo to straighten out the hazard checks, which I might do. I don't know. I
like them that way.
Bit rough. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you mean what? Do you mean make them straight down rather than at a slant?
No.
Just tidy
them up.
Ah.
Yeah.
Chevrons.
That thing.
That's the word.
B stripes.
And I finally got myself
Adidas
a
stripe.
Macquarie.
No, pass the stripe.
I got the only important thing from Saga of the Beast. Everything else is pointless. This is it.
Hey, speak for yourself, mate. My one's still on the sprue. I just couldn't wait to tear into it and build more Mega Knobs. You know, that kit that's been out for fuck knows how many years now. I'm like, way more Mega Knobs.
Never enough Mega Knobs.
No, there is never enough Mega Knobs. Damn straight.
Before we
go
get
on.
into
Go on.
Before we get into the video proper, so we've got a minor, well, maybe a major. I don't know.
I'm intrigued, mate.
October announcement from Kyle Gearguts. Apparently, he's sending all four of us something big for October.
Oh,
one each.
well, exciting.
That is all I can get out of him. And you know it's all I can get out of him because if he'd told me, you'd have known about it by now because I can't keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, you can't tell the truth, we know.
Well, I'm sure at the time of you guys watching this, he's probably in the premiere chat right now, planting some more seeds of excitement. Well, I can only, it could be anything from Gear Guts, couldn't it? Saying it's big, that pretty much covers his entire range, so it could be anything. It could be a stomper, it could be a fucking grot tank, the size of a fucking house.
As well, that it's probably not just one of his existing products to review. It's probably something entirely new. Because he's very fast.
The way he works, that could be anything.
Yeah. He might not even know yet the speed he works. He's probably still making whatever it is. Well, that's intriguing. So yeah, I'm sure the Premier chat's going wild right now, and everyone's trying to get it out of him, and I'm sure he's loving it. So Kyle,
what would you want it to be? What would you want it to be?
I don't know. A good stomper.
Yeah.
Be realistic, will you, for Christ's sakes?
No, not good in stats. A good looking stomper, a stomper that looks better than, which I don't think will be too hard to do. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
You mean something
like
that? You mean a stomper that doesn't look like Demis Roussos? Is that what you say? Yeah. I'm down for that.
Something that doesn't look like Bill or Ben, one of the flower pot men.
How dare you? I quite like that.
Dak. It's going to make sense to precise.
His Meccano arm. So well, that'll be interesting and that'll be exciting. But I guess so. Without further ado, I suppose we better for this episode, guys. Right, listen. Before we get into it as well, I'm going to tell you. Right, I'm hosting this motherfucker, and I swear to God, we are staying on target. Nick, your services tonight, sir, will not be required. Because we will not be mentioning current editions of the game. We will not be talking about it. We're going to stay on point, and we are
That one.
We are. Where's my
Confidence
fucking
of
red
your
card?
downfall, I'll give you that much.
My faith in my friends.
It's
So we're going to talk about how.
Yeah,
So we're going to touch on how conversions used to be.
no, go fuck yourself, Dread. All right, shut up.
Actually and now in the
Shut the
current-
fuck up.
current edition. That's what I said. Current edition.
So, Ork Conversions. So, from the title and the thumbnail, as at this point of talking, I don't know exactly what the title is, but you'll know what it is because you'll have clicked on it and you'll be watching it now. But yeah,
that was a git.
I can tell you right now, it's Ork Conversions because I'm editing.
it's Ork Conversions. And with the possible subtitle of "Are you a real orc collector / hobbyist / gamer if you don't convert?" So who shall I put this to first? Dread.
Yeah.
Let's put it to you because on your channel you've covered tons of hints and tips videos on converting, kit bashing. You've been showcasing us like your army in progress, and every miniature in your army is kit bashed or converted or has some sort of something done to it and changed to it to some degree, greater or lesser. And so I know that you've a really keen converter and kit basher. What's your take on this?
I think the reason that people convert is first of all important to sort of consider because people have got different reasons why they might convert. So some people it's just because they can't afford some of the kits. So they might actually just be trying to just play the Ork army. They're not actually falling into the sort of hardcore collector bracket particularly. It's just that they're converting because they have to. Actually made a note. Where's my note?
I've done a few. It's funny you mention that because a lot of my conversions, especially in the early days, were done because of necessity because I had to rather than I didn't have the money. So I'm like, I could use them bits. I can make my own one.
Or just having where you've got a lack of funds, you end up buying a kit and then, as I did when I was younger, and because you can't buy another one for a good few months, you're going to take so much time and care over it and, convert the miniatures. When you first start out, that might just be swapping things out or just cutting things off and stuff like that.
Getting your money's worth out of the kit, stretching a kit, all the bits in there. Like I can use them bits to make a few tank busters, and I can use them bits to fucking make some of them boys into commandos, and I can use those extra heads, and
But I think you've got several different types of people that collect orcs. You've got people that are like collectors, like proper hoarding collectors that want to have the full range. And they would
Scar and Dim.
I mean, you might have a display cabinet with all of the miniatures from the Ork range because you're a fan of the collection that GW put out. Those people may or may not convert. They may have an original like Scar does, and then one that he converts. But then you've got less chance of people converting that sort of collectors in that sort of sense. The same way as with people that are primarily players and people that use the army as their second army, unless they're using it as their second army as a relief to have that sort of fun and play out. But I think the main people that convert are the hardcore, die-hard Ork fans, where Orks are their first army, their first love. Everything's about Orks, that's what I've noticed anyway. It's those people. Other than that, other people do it on the fringe as an extra sort of like, I've got converted this, one.
The army, the faction attracts a lot of converters and kit bashers and scratch builders, doesn't it? It's the faction that attracts them.
There's a lot of scope for personal expression with the Orks.
Yeah.
You can do a lot, and really, have an artistic release. So not just with painting, but and with the clans and stuff like that, themes, but also with converting, and it fits with the lore. So if you become a proper die-hard Ork fan, then you're realizing that obviously Orks don't have any uniform anything. Nothing's built in a factory with a blueprint. It's all one-offs and ramshackle and looted and all the rest. So if you really are a core fan of that and you like that sort of lore, then purchasing 3 snaz wagons and putting them together as they are is not going to please you, because they're all exactly the same. They're not looking any different. So that's why Orks convert, or proper Ork.
So what's your like views?
Not to put people down that aren't.
I was about to ask you, what's your like views on then? Like, so say if you were playing someone at a club and you met someone and they bring out an army and they've got like 4 mech guns and they're all the same, and they've got the 3 snaz wagons and they've got a few trucks and they're all the same, and they've got very uniform and they're out there. Would you?
On the face of it, I'm going to tease the shit out of them and say that ain't proper. Realistically, I mean, I understand that the hobby attracts people for so many different reasons. Like there's lots of people that are in it for different aspects of the thing.
You wouldn't think any less of them.
No. It's just, it's not your cut. It's like
yes,
gardening.
you would, Dread. Yes, you would.
You're fucking feeling down here, but what do you mean there's no conversions here? Not a real Ork player.
So with your army, Dread, with your army, I know
up on high and just be like,
obviously with your army, you've got like literally, as you've shown off, your army that's in the works at the moment, that you're getting ready for our big battle reports that are coming up once the world returns to normal, and we've all got them done. And I noticed that within that army, there is not one miniature within your army that is standard, is there? Everything's got something done to it, and that's like a need for you, isn't it? Even if you love the miniature, do you feel that you have to do something just to make
it's
it yours?
An infectious disease with me, in the sense that exactly what you just said. If I even really like a miniature, and I've got several that I've snapped up from third-party companies when they've released it, I've gone, oh yeah, grabbed it, and then I've got it back here and I've gone, well, that arm's going in, that mech arm is going in the mech arm drawer. That body's going in there. That's going in the heads drawer, and it's never going to be built as the thing that I saw it as, which is kind of a shame in a sense. Maybe I should get in a habit of buying 2, but I just don't have the money for that. But I like to see things as bits. Every time I see a kit, it's that bit, that bit, that. I could use that for. I never look at a kit as what it is, really. I never ever intend to build it as that.
To you, it's a box of bits.
Yeah, and this is why the mono kit buggies bothered me, because I really do like to look at a kit. Like, imagine if you was a kid and you've got a box of Lego, but most of the bits are big shapes that are already made for you, and you ain't got barely any of the little blocks. It's
like
just
a lot of modern Legos like that. Actually, Lego seems to have lost its way a little bit over the years. It's very sort of license based.
In the fucking wind. Lego's grand, Liz, for fuck's sake.
Lego's awesome. Don't get me wrong. Lego's it's probably the best toy that's ever been invented. It is fantastic.
We're not going to go into Lego, but they have different product lines. So
I know, yeah.
If you're into the creative,
only 90s Lego, can't beat it. That was the best stuff right there.
But Sky, you've jumped in there to defend Lego, so let's bring you in on this. Sure. So you have a pretty different take on it.
I totally like Dread. What Dread does. Like, I have nightmares about it at times. Like, has to convert everything. Takes like limited edition games day knobs or something like that, and chops their hands off and gives them another gun. I'm like, why would you ruin perfection? You know what I mean? Why would you do such a thing? Abhorrent. You know what I mean? Ruining it. Absolutely ruining it. No, but really, I can understand. The problem I find is some people can be very gatekeeperish about it. See, look, there I go. Red Gobbo ruined.
It looks pretty fucking cool though, man, to be fair.
The claw.
It looks pretty slick.
The claw is also from the old Bad Moon boss too, so it's like it's 2 retro models.
Is it Nasdreg or is it the other?
Yeah, it's the Nasdreg claw. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Now Steve will gives a fuck.
Carry on, Scar. Carry on.
It can be like I've picked it up off of people, and I've picked it up off of like non-orc players, that there's an expectation that if you're an orc player, you need to convert. Like, why isn't your stuff converted? I've had that said to me before when I was starting off with orcs. I'm like, you don't have to convert if you don't want to. You know what I mean? And then there's different levels of converting. There's, you know, it's not. I disagree with Dread. It's not just like sort of this hardcore sort of thing. It's like a spectrum in my eyes. You can dabble in it a little bit. Maybe you'll only have one miniature in your army, maybe that you've like, I'll swap a gun. It's like, does that count as converting? Like, where does the kit bashing start and the converting end?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's an overlap there somewhere in there sometimes.
I think in my eyes, it's like a spectrum of. There's no black and white for me when it comes to converting. You don't have to do it, but you can go off the deep end if you want. Like Dread would be more extreme end of it for me, but that's fine because, you know, there's space for everyone in it. That's the beautiful thing about the hobby. It is what you want it to be.
Well, you do a mix of a lot, don't you? I mean, you've obviously you've done videos, you know, it's scratch building, grot tanks and stuff, which you're famous for. The grot tank aficionado here, and you've done, you know, you've done a lot of like wire banner knobs and things with plastic card and things. So you've done a lot of stuff like that. But then, like you say, you've got a lot of things standard, just as built with what's in the kit as intended, and you know, you've just appreciated that miniature for what it is, and you want to build that miniature and have that. And I think you said to me before, you quite often buy two of a kit and build one as is, and then have another one to convert and do something different with.
What I've wanted to pick up from Sky, you know, having heard him say that, I'm like, yeah, that's a bloody good idea. I should have done that. You know,
that's why.
But you wouldn't do it though.
But that is the reason why I do it though. Is it's twofold. It's one, it's if like I convert something and I don't like it, I don't want to risk the fact that I only have one of a miniature and that I've ruined it in my eyes. You know what I mean? It sort of frees up any sort of analysis paralysis when you have sort of two of something. And the second reason is I collect the old stuff as well, so I want to be able to look back, and not only for me but for like newer players coming in, I want to be able to pick up like a big mech with shock attack gun that came out in 4th edition and go, this is exactly what it looked like, here's one I converted. I want to be able to show
and sort of preserve some of that stuff from the history
sort of,
and that.
It's sort of like a historical sort of stamp mark as well, is the reason why I do it.
Yeah, because a lot of them old classics are getting very rare now, aren't they? Some of them, you know, especially ones that were limited edition or released in limited numbers and things, are getting rarer and rarer and more valuable and harder to come by. So it's good to see people preserving those and, you know, being able to see them at least and be inspired by them. But Dim, another person who works a lot with green stuff, as we've seen on your channel. We've seen a lot of your snow trolls that you've been working on lately on your channel, and so you're another one that does a lot of converting and, you know, making stuff your own. But where do you fall in this? Like,
I sort of straddle the line, although what it boils down to is that for me the theme is always the most important thing. If the theme isn't really supported by in-kit models, which is common, then converting is inevitable.
Yeah.
I like to convert. I think probably I just enjoy building. So like building is always the thing I find easiest to do. I'm just as happy building a bunch of models as they're intended to be built as I am to convert
I think
them.
you probably speak for all four of us there, don't you? I think all four of us kind of get a kick out of the building side of things, probably perhaps more than the painting side. And
the second after chuck paint on it,
and...
the second after just chuck paint on it, the enthusiasm goes down. Although since I moved from GW to Vallejo paints, I've found that I enjoy painting more. I found the Vallejo and Army paints, which I now use pretty much exclusively with the odd GW ink and technical paint from time to time.
Yeah,
I've just found it far more freeing, just because, you know, like
because they haven't turned to chalk when you next go to use them.
Well, yeah, it helps that the pots aren't like the worst fucking design that could possibly be incorporated. I mean,
at the risk of sounding like you, they're a great design if you like making money.
They're a fantastic design.
I don't see no tinfoil hat. Hold on.
I know it wasn't. I told you guys, you've walked into a parallel universe here.
What's going on? I'm still alive. Hold on. What?
Do you want it to get worse? The kind of models that I like to convert are GW models. If I buy them from elsewhere, I tend not to convert them. I like playing.
And why is that? Why with other models do you not want to convert them?
Well, quite a lot of the other companies mostly do resin and metal, and varying on it can be expensive and risky opportunity to kind of convert them.
I will say actually that that's the time when I don't convert sometimes myself would be with, like, for example, the Forge World and Cromlech Grot tanks. Now I've bought several of them and I've mixed them up and I've changed them up just very, very, very slightly in minimalistic ways. So you could barely call it converting. So
it'll be kit bashing, wouldn't it? It'll be kit bashing, mixing parts around.
Yeah, I've added the odd thing on here and there, but I haven't done too much, you know.
I haven't done that.
It's the same with their Dakka Jet. Their Dakka Jet is so covered in detail that I was just like, well, there's not really anything I can add. There's no space to add anything. I've got to chop something up if I want to do that, and it's beautiful as it is. So, do you know, I'm just, you know,
the Cromlech stuff is highly detailed, isn't it?
Dread left the miniature alone. What?
No, I mean, like,
he hasn't finished it yet, so there's still time.
I find myself, if I'm putting all the third-party stuff down against all the GW stuff and blah, 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 I do find myself having to add detail to some of the GW stuff in order to bring it up to the level of, like, say, the Cromlech stuff. So, like, for example, Mega Knobs. Like, I love the GW Mega Knobs kit. It's a great
They're
kit.
very different to the Cromlech ones, aren't they? They're very different.
But they do stand up together. They are slightly shorter, but it's just the level of detail difference that makes it so different. So, you know, you've just got to add little details to them, you know, and pick out more details.
You're trying to tie the two ranges together, aren't you, and get this sort of uniform.
When you're painting the Cromlech one, maybe don't pick out as many of the details, and with the GW ones, pick out more of them, so that you sort of meet in the middle somewhere, you know. I'll try to.
Well, I sort of land. I think I'm sort of similar to Scar on this one in that I've got some of the stuff built standard. I'm looking at my mob of shooter boys here that I'm doing, and some of them are standard, and so a lot of them have kit bashed or minor little conversions in them, where I've just heads from the truck kit or heads from the looters kit, you know, etc. Just little simple head swaps and bits and mixing bits around. But I do like to not have any two miniatures the same, even if it's only a subtle difference. So generally, if I get a kit, quite often I'll build it fairly standard, or I will and then if you get another one, I'll have to do something very different, or just build my own one out. Like I had the truck for my second truck. I did it out of a Talrox, looted one of them and started changing up one of them to be as my second truck. But conversions for me have been I love them. They're the most fun. Like, I had so much fun converting and kit bashing my mech guns. That was great fun doing that. Sometimes it comes out of that just not wanting things the same, and also, like you said earlier, it comes out of necessity and not having the funds. Certainly when I was just getting back into it, having to sort of stretch the kit out and get the maximum use out of that kit and I've built the kit, there's a load of parts left over, and I've got a few, like even like a boy's torso, the extra boy's torso you get in the boys kit, you don't have a set of legs for it. I'm like, I can use that to stick it sticking out the top of a turret, and no one's going to see his legs, so I can use that torso and get use out of that, and I can, you know, just do things like that. But yeah, I think I fall somewhere with, I don't like seeing other orc armies where stuff is uniform and they've just built a load of standard stuff the same. I'm like, you know, you missed opportunity.
Well, they might
there.
just be a gamer. They might just be in it to play games. So they just
and I think a lot of the people that do that are generally in it more for the gaming aspect. You know, I want 4 mech guns, so I would just buy 4 mech gun kits and I would build them as they come and just. I've
spoke about making an army that is just standard, a throwdown army, as I'm calling it, where I'll just put a basic paint job on, slap some decent thick varnish on, and they'll be the ones that I don't mind throwing all over a tabletop and collecting up in handfuls, because the army that I'm building is so personalized now, and you know, it's kind of almost a display cabinet army. But I want to play with it, but you know, it's not going to be for touring around the world with and playing people in other countries. You know, I'm going to need a throwdown army, so I might actually build a bunch of standard stuff for just gaming. So I do understand people do that. You know, it's.
Well, I'm also like a little bit like you, where a lot of the time
have it break when you're traveling. You know.
Yeah, well, I'm like you as well. And a lot of the time, I've generally any faction I've been collecting in the past, I've had to go in and do something. I've had to do something. My Tyranids, I remember painstakingly green stuff molding like my Thornback Carnifex and that. I didn't like the way the spines go. I wanted them down the center. I wanted like a mohawk of fucking so molding all them and getting them this proper like mohawk of spikes all down his back and everything. And Chaos as well. Chaos was another faction where I had great fun converting. And it was just so fun to just get that, you know, everything again with Chaos. You don't want everything looking too uniform, depending what sort of faction of Chaos you go with, I guess. But I liked it being chaotic and everything looking a little bit ramshackle and a little bit different and a bit sort of worn and looted and stuff, similar to the Orks. But Orks definitely drew me in for that reason, because I knew I'd been doing the Necrons for so long, and with Necrons not to say you can't. I've seen some really cool Necron conversions, like really out there stuff, and I'm like, that's awesome, like it's a genius idea and stuff, but it's a lot harder. You've got to really think outside the box, and it's a lot more restrictive, and you've got to be very creative to think up some ideas and keep within the fluff and the lore. But Orks drew me in, man. They are like the big reason I'm like, I can just have so much fun with that faction. I can just do totally whatever I want. And I think this is where this conversation is why I think this is a great video for us to bring out, because I think this is a really interesting topic for all Ork players, because I think for a lot of us in the community, it's one of the points that drew us to the faction is that personalization and customization.
Bear in mind, when we say drew us to, we are all of a certain age, and we all came into it around about the same sort of time.
Yeah.
So that is worth. I know. We said we're not going to go off topic.
I'm keeping a close fucking eye on you.
You know,
wait till I get started.
You can fuck off.
We come from a generation, where it was encouraged. It was encouraged, and it was something that we was shown regularly. So like it would be right in front of us in the White Dwarf and things like that. So
that's very true.
Even in their own codexes and stuff like that. So it was something that was almost insisted to us back then. It was like,
it was
if you
directly facilitated too, because we had mail order.
Yeah.
You could order any part.
Exactly. So it was encouraged, it was almost insisted, and it was facilitated. Now the difference is now that it's just mentioned in brief, you know, like you could, if you was a new player coming in now, you could read the current codex and you could draw the conclusion that, okay, so Orks are ramshackle, they like building bits out of this and that. So you could draw the conclusion that, okay, so maybe I should be able to make my own thing. You know, if I just get some bits together and I make something that represents that, but it's not mentioned anywhere now in the codex to convert.
Do you guys remember seeing your first conversion? Do you remember the first thing you saw that wasn't standard? And you were, I remember seeing something. I think it was in a White Dwarf. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I was saying to my mate, and I saw something. I was like, "Oh, I've not seen that model before." And he's like, "No, it's a conversion." I'm like, "What do you mean? Like what? You can make your own? Like you can do what your own?" And he was like, "Yeah. So maybe you'll take part from another kit and you'll mix it in." So that, I'm like, and I was just like, oh, that's so fucking cool. Like, I was just like, that's taken the hobby to like a whole new level for me. Because in the early days of me collecting, a lot of which is ironic actually, that we've kind of gone full circle, is a lot of the stuff I got was very monopose. I remember some of the first kits I got was like Chaos Warriors from Fantasy, and they were the standard ones, looked very similar to the Hero Quest ones. Also, the first miniature I ever painted as well. And I was like, I was well happy with the job on that. Yeah, so they were a bit of a challenge to do anything like that with. But then once you start getting these multi-part kits out and stuff, and it was a golden age through that sort of 3rd edition era of all the kits were coming from this very monopose. Everything in the kit, it looks the same, or at least very similar. Maybe they've got a sword instead of an axe or something, but generally they're all the same. To suddenly getting these kits with ball and socket joints and heads, and you can swap the heads around, and it was like, this is like, such a good
Steve,
time to be in the hobby.
the Chaos Warriors, you could angle the forearms.
Yeah. Well, these were just like one part. You didn't even have to build them. You just clipped them off the sprue and slock them in the base, and that was it.
I think I
with their fists. Everyone had their fists like this.
I think I remember what it was, and I think it was what added to the excitement and made me definitely go, yeah, no, Orks was when I was drawn to Orks was with Gorkamorka, and I think it was with Gorkamorka, the old Ork truck. They had the grabbing claw that came out for, and there was another kit that you could get when you had it as a grabbing claw truck. You could change the driver's face or the torso and the face, and you could add a few glyphs and a few other bits that came for it. And I remember seeing that, and someone had added a few extra bits to that. And I think it was that sort of gave me the exact same reaction as you. It's like, what? That's because I recognise it. I was like, that's the shape of an Ork truck, but that's not an Ork. What's that? What's that? Wow. You know, and it's just that sort of like, you can do that?
Takes the hobby to a whole new level, doesn't it? And it's to any younger players out there who maybe people are just getting into the hobby and stuff, and you know, you've been enjoying the hobby, playing the game, learning the rules or whatever, and reading the lore and building your kits and that, and that's all great. But I think once you dipped your toe into really making something yours, even if it's just a simple little swap of a bit of it, that miniature's going to mean so much more to you from that point. It's going to, and you're going to be just that extra level of pride of putting that on the table, and someone's going to go, oh, that's cool, I like what you've done. It just makes it yours, doesn't it? And it's just
every wargamer does that when they do their paint job. So every wargamer can relate to that sort of want to personalize. And so most of them, if they're any, unless they've got some blind bias to Orks, or they just hate their look or their lore or something, then most wargamers can appreciate that Orks are really great for personalization, because you're not just painting them your own way, you're building them your own way, you know, entirely your own way, you know. So there's no uniform, there's no, you know, like with Space Marine factions, you know, it will say like, oh, well, they usually use these weapons, and they always have this black badge on their arm and stuff. So you're limited straight away. Whereas Ork factions is just like, well, they like red or going faster. Doesn't say that every mega knob has a fucking, you know, buzzsaw. It's not restricted like that. You can just go crazy. You can do whatever you want, you know.
But organised Orks is a team as well. Just
the blood axe speaking there.
Just to put that out there, you can do it if you want to.
You can, yeah. I was
for Orks, though, are they?
They're the bestest Orks. Yeah. But yeah,
don't be fucking Orks in uniform.
Blood axes, never saw that coming.
There's two instances of conversions that I remember. There's the first one I ever saw, which was in I think it was the 3rd edition Space Wolf Codex, because that was bought for me very early on. So that was the first one I saw in a book. I think it was someone converted their own Ragnar in the 3rd edition Space Wolf Codex. You could flick through and it'll show you like a golden demon winning stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I remember there was like a Bjorn the Fell handed, and there was a few conversions. So I remember specifically seeing conversions there. But the first conversion I saw in person and specifically remember was an orc battle wagon that someone had made that was a Land Raider, and it had a death roller. And I was like, because I remember asking him, I'm like, how did you make the death roller? And the guy had gotten, I don't know if the lids are still like it, but you remember yacht play bottles? Yacht bottles?
Yeah.
The lids, the way it was like geared tooth at the top, sort of, and then it was smooth. He got a shitload of them, put them sideways, and glued them all together, and made a death roller out of it, and it looked bleeding wicked. That's the first time I remember like seeing a conversion. I
really want a bottle of Yop right now. I love that
stuff. And it was cool, man. Yeah, it was cool.
Awesome. What about you, Dim?
I can remember distinctly. It was from the first White Dwarf had bought for me, and it was White Dwarf 222. I remember the number.
Nice.
Not difficult to remember 222, to be fair, but
what was it?
And it was
you prick.
Like red. And it was
what's wrong? You forgot.
It was the White Dwarf that had the famous last stand at Glacier Creek.
Nice.
Which was basically the Zulu battle report that everybody remembers. So one of the first conversions I saw was some of Adrian Wood's orcs.
Cool.
You mean Ork Drift?
Particularly those dreadnoughts he made, which were just absolute genius, because he just got a bunch of metal parts. And one of the things I always remember is that like one of those dreadnoughts had like a front that was from the Squid catapult kit.
Yeah.
And just like, but loads and loads of little pieces like that. So yeah, the first conversions I saw were orcs, and it was for, frankly, one of the best battle reports they ever did. And yeah, I saw a lot of conversions, but I'd kind of already had the idea to convert before I knew converting was even a thing. Yeah. I'd always come into this from the creative angle of I want to make my own thing. That's how I got into the hobby in the first place.
Yeah.
Like we've all been doing I'm a Wargamer videos, and mine, which I've just filmed, and I'm in the course of editing right now, is I'm a Wargamer-ish, because I'm much more of a builder, really, and
more of a hobbyist.
I always wanted to convert. I always wanted to make my own stuff. So I just saw that in the White Dwarf and went, yes, this hobby is definitely for me.
I think when I saw that the first conversion, like similar to you, I've always even before I got into 40k itself, actually playing the game or finding someone to play with.
I could do it in Lego.
I played a lot of Lego. But I tried to creating, like I think we talked about this in the other one, making my own games and stuff. They weren't good. They were horrendous. But I wanted to make things now. I always used to make, as a kid, I always used to make my own top trump cards. I used to cut pictures out of like magazines and put them, and then draw the lines and do the strength, toughness, speed, all this stuff, and then take them to school and we'd play top trumps with them and everything. But yeah, but I think once I saw those first conversions like in the magazine and that, I was like, we're allowed to do this. Like, this is actually a thing. Like, they want you to do this. Like, and they're telling you how to do it. And I was like, it was like a license to do it, kind of thing. It was like, oh, this is awesome. This is so cool. And it just took the hobby to a whole new place. Go on, Dred. What were you saying?
I was saying, you top trumps. I did the exact same thing, mate. And
top trumps rock.
we did a top trumps of the teachers at our school, and we had like, like niceness and strictness and like stuff like that.
But I used to make my own games too. But
chance to be on a register. Really 8.
No, both of you two have gone like and reminded me like there's when you first saw converting in the hobby, but then there's when you saw it beforehand, and like. When Dim was talking there, he made me think of when I was a kid and I used to play with all my Monster in My Pockets and my little plastic toy soldiers and stuff. My dad used to
make all the Monster in My Pockets. I had all of them. I fucking loved them. I had top trumps of them as well.
my old man, he used to build me forts, like Necromunda style, like urban like forts for them out of like he'd go and find like broken computers in skips and stuff like this, and all sorts of junk, and he'd like put it together. My dad used to enjoy this sort of thing actually. Like
Cool.
never do a good job of anything, but it was a Homer Simpson job. It's like, Mom, I thought like, just like bunch a few stuff together, spray it with some deadly toxic paint, and then go, there, boy. That's the same way.
This explains a lot, Dread. This explains a lot. It's the hyperactive kid just high up on all the fucking fumes.
So are we talking in terms of kind of janky?
Convert everything.
In terms of janky looking, how would
I've got a new bike every year. A new coloured bike.
in terms of looks, what we're talking, is this like Tron or Lawnmower Man?
Yeah.
Lawnmower Man, isn't it?
Yeah.
I am the height of graphics.
Dread is Lawnmower Man, but at the beginning of the movie.
90 CGI graphics, you gotta love them.
Yeah. I was gonna. There's another point we should cover on this as well, to some people that may not know the difference, because it's something that comes up a lot as well. When we talk conversions, it covers a broad spectrum of things, and it's very much. I mean, I see it as 3 categories, possibly more. But we've got, like we said, we've got the kit bashing, we've got the converting, and we've got the scratch building,
and sculpting.
And the what? Sorry.
And sculpting.
And the sculpting, yeah, the sculpting as well, which I guess I was sort of including in the scratch building, but yeah, that comes into conversions as well, obviously. Which dims a little bit of definitely on one for the sculpting, but I mostly do kit bashing, generally fairly simple stuff. It's generally just like I say, head swaps, arms, torsos, whatever, adding bits from other kits, bolting stuff on. And then I dip my toe in some converting as well. I do a lot of, but we better clarify it first. So kit bashing is essentially a term where you use parts from 2 different kits and you mash them together,
or more,
bash them together, or more. Yeah. So that's kit bashing. That's where most people probably start off. Converting, you start going into more of sawing, cutting, filing, and making different parts fit together that weren't necessarily supposed to fit together, and doing bits like that.
You could convert a model whilst not having an extra kit. You could just convert the kit that you currently have.
Yeah, you don't
so kit bashing would be a form of conversion in my eyes.
There's definitely a lot of overlap, isn't there? There's a lot of kind of like, what is it? Is it conversion? Is it a kit bash? And
some conversion is any alteration of a miniature.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then we've got the scratch building, which kind of speaks for itself. Is you kind of building something from scratch, whether it be out of plastic card, whether it be sculpting stuff out of green stuff, and then even a lot of scratch building will also include a lot of kit bashing or converting, because you will generally, you see a lot of these scratch built tanks things will have additions of armor plates from kits added on them, or the crew maybe from a kit or whatever. So there is a lot of overlap.
My builds will tend to be either a scratch build with kit bash elements, or it will be a model that I have converted more. I would put it into that converted, but I know they're all converted, but into that converted bracket where I've taken a model and I've changed it using both plastic card and sculpting and kit bash elements. So it's sort of a combination, but that's what I would call a conversion. It's where you can still see it's, like if you take a Lehman Russ and you add a bunch of Ork glyphs and bits and bobs to it, I would consider that a kit bash conversion. But if you build your own Lehman Russ from plastic card, that's a scratch build. But then if you add a bunch of GW parts to it to authenticate it, then it's a scratch build with kit bash elements,
Who here has spent a long time doing a conversion on a miniature that no one's ever going to notice?
Oh yeah,
I've done that so much.
Well,
like
this comes back
where
to
you file down an
model.
Ork arm or something, so that it gives him a cool like fucking John Woo pose or whatever, or something like that. Or you just So you file down the arm so it doesn't go as it's supposed to. It's giving it a better, more dynamic angle. So at that point, you've generally converted it, haven't you? You've done something.
But there's some of the best ones though. If people don't notice them, then that looks natural on a miniature. Some of the most jarring conversions you see, some of the most terrible ones, is like, Jesus Christ, you see it like fucking 2 tables over.
Good point,
What did you use? Pritt stick, mate? What the bleep?
There are a lot of bad conversions out there, aren't there? There are a lot of bad conversions.
You're aiming for Steve-O's reaction, where someone goes, "Oh, cool! I haven't seen that model yet. Where can I get it?"
Yeah.
Oh, you can't. I did it myself.
I think it's one of the best compliments I was ever paid when I did my my big mech, who's got his like Mega Man style gun, his blunderbuss. And I think one of the comments on the video I put, he said, "What I love about your conversions," he said, that they don't look like they're converted. It looks like it's you could have got that out of a kit. And to me, that was like the highest praise possible. That it's just like, because I don't like Sky, you just said, and it's perfect. You got it bang on. You don't want it to jump out as, oh, that just looks like he's bolted that on. You want it to blend it in with it. You want it to look like it was always supposed to be there.
The other side of that coin, though, is like seamlessly blending in with the GW stuff is one great thing. And I know you and I both like that. That's why we like 4 Fun Minis for conversion parts. But
oh, hell yeah.
There are some people that convert with a very definite style, say like Blanchitsu. You know, like people have, maybe someone's really into spikiness and they like adding a real, you know, like I've seen some people that have got their own artistic style. And you know, in the much the same way that I look at every model kit as parts, some people see every kit as something as a base to start from, to make into their style. You know what I mean? Like, so they might be spiky or they might be fluffy.
It ties into Dim and the whole concept of having themes for your army. You know what I mean? But you'll still, what I was talking about was like when you see a conversion and it doesn't look right. When somebody does a themed army, the army as a whole
ties together.
Looks great, but each individual miniature, while it might look totally different from the original, it's still, you know, it fits in its own theme. I think I was more talking about like, if you see something just odd, maybe like the wrong arm on the wrong side where the elbows, some, you know.
Oh yeah,
you've had to make do.
Because it's so heavy.
We've all been there. It's like, oh, I want a grenade hand, but I don't have any right ones left. Right, we'll just stick a left one on. You know,
running around with 2 left hands.
Or the impossibly big gun being held out like at arm's length that there's no possible way that anyone could even lift.
So what is your favourite way to convert generally? What do you find yourself always like, Dim? I mean, I already know the answer to this, I think. But what is the thing that you always drawn to when you find yourself converting or kit bashing or scratch building or whatever?
Do you want the contrary answer or the sensible answer?
Both.
Because the contrary answer is whatever's necessary.
Yeah, good answer.
The one that I think is more in the spirit of what you're asking is that, well, generally I would like to solve most problems with green stuff because that's the material that I'm most confident with. But I'm quite okay at all of it. Most of what I do is probably kit bash, but I will kit bash first, and if I need something to look a bit different, or maybe I don't have a kit that really does the job of what I want to do, I'll break out the green stuff. And if I really want to save money, or I feel that it's just the material to use it for, I will occasionally break out the plastic card, but I very, very rarely use plastic card. But I have used it before.
Yeah, same. I haven't really touched plastic card very much yet. I want to. I just need to sort of get better with it and learn more and just get doing more. But yeah, I was the same as you. Like, if I'm converting something, I'd try and go for the easiest, simplest way possible to get what I want. I've got a sort of a thing in mind and I want to get that. I don't sort of do it. I feel like sometimes people do it to be like ultra fancy and look what I can do and look what I've done. But I'm like, I just want to get a different look to that model. I want to get something. I'm like, so I look through my bits and I look through it, and if I can do it just by taking apart from another kit and sticking it on there, then happy days. If I'm having to saw and file stuff down and mold stuff, it's because I have to. It's not because I've wanted to. It's like, right, I've got nothing that looks like that. So, right, if I take that part off that Death Dread's gun, and if I use that bit off the truck, and if I cut that bit and angle them together, then that's going to look like that gun that I want. And so I kind of, it's out of a necessity. It's sort of, I've got the idea first, and then I think, right, how am I going to do this? Scar, what about you?
I dabble. See, but you know what I mean. I'm inconsistent. I still have miniatures I haven't finished, but I think I actually find it easier to mess with plasticard. I don't know what it is about it. I find it. Maybe it's because it's not a miniature, so I can't really ruin it. Because when I go to do something, I don't really have. I might have a rough concept, but as I sort of build through bits of it, I'll come up with ideas. Oh, you know, I'll stick a vent in here. So then, like halfway through building a tank, I'll all of a sudden cut like a slot out and then build a vent. Which, you know, it might be easier if you started with that in mind and stuff. But it's like it sort of ties back into when I was a kid with Lego. I'd always have a rough kind of idea. I want to build something. I just wouldn't know how I'd get there. Eventually,
by the end, it looks completely different to what your first plan was.
Well, it's sort of like a rough idea. I want to build like a spaceship. I have no idea how many engines, wings, guns it has, but I'll build something. And it just sort of, as I go, I sort of create. You know what I mean? I don't know what direction it's going to go in, but you know.
There's always spaceships with Lego, wasn't it? I always built spaceships as well. Always spaceships.
Easy enough.
But I guess with plasticard as well, and I mean, there's some. We know obviously people like Waz out there who does like incredible stuff with plasticard, and other people as well. But plasticard, I guess, it's complete. It's a blank canvas, isn't it? It's like sitting down with a blank piece of paper and a pencil. You can do anything until you're not restricted by it. Whereas obviously, so sometimes when I've used plasticard, in the rare cases I have, it's because I've had to, because I've got no parts in my bits box that's going to do this. I'm going to have to sort of use a bit of plasticard to fill that and do that.
Personally, I'm more like Scar in that I would be much happier with plasticard. That's what I tend to use most of the time. I do dabble though, like himself, so I will try a bit of sculpting. I'm not great at sculpting. I'm going to get a 3D pen because Roshan was talking about one of the 3D pens, like you can use them for gap filling. So I'm going to get one of those. I'm happy to use all different mediums. I've got all sorts of different stuff to try out. But I do, plasticard. Like I've got just behind me here, I've got a big tub of all my different plastic rods, and then I've got a big box of all different grades of plasticard. So that'd be my go-to for sure.
It's never far out of reach. I think we all have like a cup
I
of some
can't get
form
mine,
like
but mine's down there.
Always have plasticard rod.
If you're plasticarding, get yourself a scriber, plastic scriber. They're really bloody useful.
Yeah. Oh, what's that thing you used to cut tubes with, Dread? That's another good tip to throw out as well.
Oh, for cutting a plumbing pipe slice. So
your pipe cutter.
Pipe cutter. You can get them in hardware stores.
Like this. Yeah. And they're adjustable, so you can put your different size pipe in. You just slide it onto the two rollers in there, and then there's a blade on the top. You close it down, you just twist it round, and you keep tightening it round, but not too much that you bend it.
It looks like a portable circumciser.
All right.
Funny thing is I couldn't find. I used to be an engineer myself, so I used to actually own several of these and different size ones that fit straight onto certain size pipes and stuff, but couldn't find them. So I went out and bought this, and this one's awful. I got it from some shop out here in Ireland, and it's just awful. It just scores the plastic. And as soon as I bought that and I started using it, the old one turned up. So the old one.
What were you saying, Scott?
I was saying a tip for using those micro cutters. If you're trying to cut like a larger diameter, like what Dredd said, sometimes you can end up squishing it. If you get smaller diameter tubes and put them on the inside, it'll
Ah,
support it.
leave it.
So
Nice.
it won't crimp it. So there you go. There's a top tip.
There you go.
There's
I
another
think for the
before we move
so
on.
there's a first for everything, guys. For the first time ever, the Ork Warboss show is giving you useful information.
Teaching
There
side.
you go.
Don't get used to it.
We're not just hurling abuse at each other.
Another dimension I wanted to mention, which just occurred to me as we were talking, is that like one of the reasons why I often err towards kitbash is because I like the challenge. I like being limited,
Mm-hmm.
and I like the added difficulty of trying to make two specific kits work.
It is satisfying when
a
it
preview
when
for my upcoming next non I'm a Wargamer video. I mean, it's not going to look great, but it's I've been kit bashing human Blood Bowl hands and things to the Corvus Cabal kit from Age of Sigmar to make a human team, and they've come together quite nicely. And you can see the blue plastic from the just about can see the blue plastic.
Dim in all of his editing glory will probably take still images.
I was going to say I've got
yeah, well, lay it over us. Lay it over us.
Yeah, I've actually got a new rotating gizmo, so I may even put in a small video of that.
Stay on topic, I know, but did you see the new Orks?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I'm not as in. Well, I don't really like that. I've never really liked the design of the Black Orcs, but the goblins look great. That is definitely a better Varag Ghoul Chewer. The Snotlings are cracking models, and also the new Necromantic Horror team is just hilariously spoopy. They're brilliant. There's they've got like helmets made from pumpkins and all sorts, so they look cracking.
And also we've got the Commander Ogrins as well that can be used for knobs, mega knobs. They look good as well.
Yeah, they'll be useful as bits. I despise the kit as it stands for Necromunda. I just think, why did they bother with that? But for us, it's very useful.
Yeah.
Well, on the getting us back on target. What kind of conversions are your favorite to do in terms of a big project, whether it be building from scratch a big tank or converting or looting this tank or something, or down to just a boy and doing some little minor modifications and doing something like Scar with a lot of your commandos, I think, or a lot of your shooter boys. You did like little plastic card, little.
My Warbanner knob, which I'm sure Dim will have an image of. This was a miniature I bought a lot off of someone that they had kit bashed and posed, and then I got my hands on it and converted it and used like bits of plastic card on the back for a respirator, green stuff tube maker for the tubes, plastic card for the glyph front. This is my favorite conversion I've ever done so far.
I can see why. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I quite like the
small things because I never.
Yeah.
I'm a useless fuck. Like I just don't.
At least you know you might finish it. Yeah, you might finish it. As well.
Yeah, if it's even he's not finished. I haven't finished painting him, but at least he's finished being built.
Yeah.
I like smaller things because there's a prospect I might actually get them bleeding done. So yeah.
Well, yeah, I was just like, I like a lot of the minor little ones. Like, I mean, one of my shooter boys here, and I've just it's a simple thing. It's real simple. I sawed off the clip on the gun, and I put one of the clips in the open palm that should be holding the socket, and so I've got him looking like he's about to slam a fresh clip into his gun. It's just little things like that. I love just adding that little adds a little bit more personality to the unit and stuff, and just I get a lot out of them.
Vehicles, because you like particularly building Ork versions, and it harks back to sort of the War forum days and the sort of time when we had the proper looted vehicle. But building Ork looted vehicles that are based off of Imperial vehicles, but actually completely scratch built, so not converted. So one thing I did a lot of was building Lehman Russ variants, Orky variants, like completely from scratch. So I got so used to doing it, I had a template drawn out for drawing like the sides and everything else, and I just draw around it onto the plastic card and cut out, and I had a sort of system going, and
that's quite cool lore-wise as well, because it's like they haven't looted a Lehman Russ. They've seen a Lehman Russ, and they're like, we want to build our own one of them.
Yeah, but almost. Like once I've finished it and you paint it, it's exactly what we were saying before. Is when people go, oh, because they think it's a Lehman Russ, but then their eye goes, but it's not though, is it? And then they realise, oh, gee, that's not actually the body isn't actually, is it? And then they realise, and they're like, whoa, and it's a shape like, other than the tracks are always a pain on any sort of tracked vehicle. The hull, as long as you're not going too fancy with sort of like cut out recesses and removable parts and all the rest, the hull it goes together quite fast, and so you can get like generally quite a big build quite quickly. Like you might you might have even noticed, like with Waz, like who does massive, great big plastic art builds, like like he built a big ship and big version of the blimp as well, and the fighter bomber. He did a Ork fighter bomber converted up from the ones from Aeronautica for somebody, and it went together really quick, the basic shape, because once he's thought out what he's going to do and he's just cut them basic shapes, the basic frame of it goes up really quick. It's all the little details that takes the time.
Yeah, adding the panels and the rivets and the details and the vents and whatnot.
But I think bigger projects are fun for that, because then you feel like you've got somewhere suddenly. So then you're more inclined to want to get in there and do them.
They're certainly probably the most rewarding, aren't they? Once they're done, the larger ones, obviously. I
do convert every foot slogger as well, which is tedious. I like it. Like, they all look really cool.
But for you, it's probably a lot less tedious than just building. You would probably find it incredibly tedious just doing what the manual in the kit told you to do. You'd probably it'd probably kill you inside if you had to do that.
Yeah.
Jim, what about you?
I thought long and hard about this, because the thing is, I've probably done almost any variation, but one of the things that I like is I love that feeling of when either your instincts are good about like a kit bash, or you've bought particular models for other projects and then you've got spare bits and then they just so happen to work really nicely with a particular project. This is one that I made not too long ago. I'll probably chuck up a better picture of it. That's a demon princess that I made for my AOS Chaos Army.
Nice.
And the wings are from the Cockatrice kit, and
cool.
I just had them spare and just stuck them onto this demon princess idea. It was like the new Marathi big version, plus like the avatar of Kane legs, and then a couple of other bits and pieces, and obviously skulls from the skull kit. And it just came together really, really nicely, and then just a little bit of green stuff to
is that one you intend to paint? Because I think that's going to look
eventually, yeah. It's a question of when. Usually with me, I didn't.
You don't have to explain to us, mate. Yeah. You're fucking good company here.
No, that's why I stopped, because I realised, hang on a minute.
No one's judging
to the fucking quiet. But yeah, that's the kind of thing I love. I love it when a plan comes together. Like my huge dragon that I made, like for that conversion competition, which is mostly green stuff. But the whole idea of it was I wanted to make something that looked like Bahamut from Final Fantasy X, or like any of the Final Fantasies. And I had the Archeon dragon to start with, but obviously it's got those daft 3 heads. I wanted rid of those.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I wonder if I could maybe fit in like a bit of the torso and a head from the Fire Slayer.
Whenever you mention Archeon's dragon, I always there's a certain scene on a certain video, I always think of like, you can't even tell what this is.
I mean,
and he's right. It's too busy.
Which is why I made it into a proper, decent-looking dragon.
This is a dragon.
This is a nonsense. But the Magmadroth torso and head fitted in perfectly, almost like really, really well. You could barely see the joint. I mean,
mate, I'm going to take us way off topic, and sorry to interrupt, but one of your favourite channels the other day I was watching, Ashens, had a reference to the bard, and I was like, oh, that's a twofer for Dim there. So I don't know if you've seen that one yet.
Not yet, no.
Yeah, he had it playing
I do like
sort
Ashens,
of the background, and then he was saying, oh, by the way, guys, what you see here, he was using it to demonstrate something. He said, what you're seeing here, go over and watch it now because it's awesome. Like, oh, there you go. Dim will love that. But another question to all of you. How many conversion projects have you either ruined or given up on, or both? If you've ruined it, generally you'll give up on it, I suppose. But how many have you just gone, do you know what? Oh, fucked it. Bollocks. Let's scrap it. Just, you know.
I've ruined a good few, but I haven't ever. Well, no, actually, no. There are a few that have gone into the bits box and been broken down and fucked off.
Yeah, I've definitely done that.
There's some things that I've built that I've got to a certain stage with, particularly maybe I've converted and I've built up, and then I've got to the painting stage with, and then I've given up because I've ruined it with paint. I've put so much time into building this thing, and I don't like what happened with that bloody crackle effect paint, or I don't like what happened with that bloody varnish. The varnish has gone all bloody cloudy or whatever. You know,
you use enough of it, mate. One bit of paint, bit of varnish. One bit of paint, bit of varnish.
That could be something. But yeah, no, it's heartbreaking. It really is. If you put a lot of time into it and it turns out naff. But I think during that process of building, you don't really mess up. You know, if you've got the right mentality, you just, you know, whatever mistake you make, you sort of go, no, put it off, and you carry on building. You know, it's just
I don't know. I've messed up. I've definitely messed up on some. Scar, how many grot tanks have you given up on? Just the one.
Well, I haven't given up on it. I just sort of ran out of steam when it came to building the tracks, because I was like, I have an idea, but then I couldn't visualize it. You know,
I don't blame you for not finishing, mate. If you finish it, your comment section's going to dry up overnight.
The internet will explode. It's like,
wasn't in there with a steam and track pun. Like,
what are we going to take the piss out of him for now? Fuck's sake.
Oh, there's always something. There's always be an unfinished project. Don't worry about that. They won't dry up. Ruining them. I don't think I've ruined. Like I've chopped bits up, and then like I've got halfway through converting something, and then like what I normally do, sometimes I run out of steam, but then later on I could come back and it'll get used for something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I don't like I don't know.
I waste a lot of parts. I ruin a lot of parts to it. I do a bit like I'm trying to get the arm on like a killer can done, and I'm like, oh bollocks, and it's just fucked. And like you say, it goes back in the bits box. But I'm like, probably never going to be any use for anything, because I've just totally mangled it, and it's like fucked. Right, let's use something else. And yeah, well, yeah, fair play.
Fair point, scrap heap. No, I don't tend to run into that. I like to dry fit a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a very visual person, so I'll like get some blue tack, and I'll blue tack it on, and I'll look at it, and I'll go, maybe if I move it there, oh yeah, that's better. But you know what I mean? That type of thing.
I've ordered parts. I've ordered parts with a certain thing in mind. I'm like, oh, that weapon from that other faction, that would be great for like a custom big shooter or something. And I got it and like, oh fuck, it's massive. Like, that's no good. Or it's like much smaller than I thought. I've run into that problems loads of times.
I need a gun for this guy, and you go and you find a really decent gun, you cut it off, and they go, oh bollocks, I needed a left hand, not a right hand.
Yeah, I got like, I ordered like some sort of Tau burst rifle thing from one of the kits, and I'm like, oh, that'd be really cool, like for my Warboss, for like his custom shooter, like his dead shiny shooter, whatever. And it's coming. I'm like, oh, that's piddly little fucking thing. That's no good. Fuck. But then, like I say, I'm like, actually, I was looking at it and I saw someone else used one for a big shooter on one of the boys. I'm like, oh, cool, I can use it like that. That'd be cool. Okay, so it's not a complete waste of time. But yeah, I've ordered a few bits and then they've arrived and I'm like, nah, back to the drawing board.
Dim?
I've got two here. I made a start on some speedsters. This was costly, and I just kind of lost inspiration.
Mate, I'm sure you're going to tell us in a minute, but I'm liking where that's going from what I'm seeing.
Oh no, it'd be great if I ever touch it again and finish it. But
on the Hawk.
No, it's the
Space Wolf
1. It's the Space Wolf 1.
Oh yeah,
Space Wolf Flyer, and then
a night.
Is that a night parts? Yeah, mate, that's looking fucking cool as fuck.
But yeah, I'm planning to make a speedster out of it, and likewise with this one as well. I lost inspiration with that one as well, which is a devilfish.
What's that one you just showed? What's that movie with the guns and they kind of like they swivel round when they like reload and whatever? It's like one of the sci-fi films and they go and shoot them. It reminds me of that. It looks like one of them guns. Can't remember what movie it was on. It looked really cool. When they reload them, they kind of like swipe round. It looks like that.
Rings a bell.
I just like making that sound.
the Star Trek film. The modern.
It might be. I just remember the bit.
Flips from kill to stun.
Yeah, it might be something like that. Yeah, but it looks like that. But I like it, mate. I think you need to crack back on with that.
Oh, I will do eventually. I bought some Casey wooden wheels, which are the cheapest option for getting wheels to finish this. Just kind of ran out of steam a little bit, but hopefully one day I'll finish them.
Sweet.
But yeah,
so how do we?
Not often. I don't have it. Not often. Are we tackling the big question then?
What?
We've put it off the whole time. Are you a proper Ork player? If you don't,
I'll go on, Sky. Go on, Sky.
I think it's down to the individual. There's no one thing that's orcs. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the things that I like. Even if you look at 40k Ork community page and the player base as a whole, there's all different sorts that are into orcs. There's the kitbashers. There's people who just want to play tournament lists and just have them built straight up. There's the converters. You know what I mean? There's the green stuffers. For me, it's like a hobby pie, and everybody has their own different segments of the hobby pie. Some will be more into one part than the others. So for me, no, you don't have to kitbash or convert to be an Ork player. No, I don't think so.
I'd largely agree with that. I've run into, you were saying earlier, someone commenting to you about why weren't these bits converted or whatever, and I had a comment. I don't think it was on the video, but I think when I shared it to the Facebook group, to the community, a member who's no longer in the community actually, and not because of this incident.
He's not about this at all,
no, but I shared images of my Met guns, and I think they were in progress at the time. I don't think they were 100% finished, but I put a picture of work in progress on them and that. And I think there was a comment of, you should really do more scratch building or something. They're a bit amateurish or something. And I'm like, why? No, that wasn't what the project was about. I wanted to mash bits of a truck kit and various bits together and build the Met guns out of scrap. That was the whole point. I didn't want, if I'd needed to scratch build any parts of it, then I would have done that. But yeah, so I don't like that elitist kind of attitude to it. But I guess, are you a true Ork player? Yes, definitely. Are you a true Ork hobbyist? Yep, still yes, but because I imagine a lot of people out there who maybe don't kitbash or convert probably paint far better than me, or probably play the game far better than me, and they've got their chosen aspects of the hobby, like I say. But for me personally, I'm always going to have to do a bit of converting.
I thought he was going to go there.
Well, where did you think I was going to go? Go on, dude.
Finally going to turn to the dark side. I thought it was going to be.
Well.
Go on, Dred. I know you will.
Well, it will be one of you two, wouldn't it?
Go on, Dred.
I agree with everything Scar said. I do. And
it's his alibi.
There are people that play Orks that are just in it to just play the game, or they're secondary army, or they're just fans of the miniatures that have come out, and all that's fine. It's all fine. Do your own thing. But if you want to be a die-hard proper Ork fan, then of course you've got to convert.
Elitist.
Of course you've got to convert. Because that's how you represent the ramshackle, ununiform nature of the orcs properly. Enough said.
Go on, Dim.
Right, so this is going to be a little long-winded, hopefully not too long-winded, but right.
Stick the kettle on, so.
So, I think for me,
Cup's empty now as well,
what this boils down to is like, because I mean, we may revisit this in another video, but there's one of the biggest,
and he'll still be talking.
You wish. One of the biggest questions in Orkdom and Ork playerdom is the concept of Orky, and like the one I've always found it difficult to define it. I'm kind of one of these people who likes to explain and define. I kind of like that. I like the academic aspect of gaming and hobby stuff. I like that aspect, and I've always tried to define it and explain it. And it's one of those things where you can't really say what it is. You can just say, look, you know it when you see it. And that's one of the things about Orky. And that's one of the things about running the orcs is that you know something looks like it's a proper orc thing. The second that you see it, you just know, yes, that fits. And that has been probably created more by accident than by design. And it comes from early doors in our development, sort of 3rd edition. GW were starting to be more ambitious with what they want their mages and they wanted the game to do, but had basically blown all the money making new Space Marines.
Surprise.
To the extent that, if I remember rightly, the person who redid the Rhino more or less did it as a passion project because they couldn't afford to throw money at it, from what I remember, because they'd spent so much money it might have been the Land Raider, but like reinventing the wheel with the Space Marines had taken up the entire budget of 3rd edition's revamp. So an awful lot of that's part of the reason actually why an awful lot of factions have taken so long to get updated, is because the Space Marines took all the money from the development for the entirety of 3rd edition, so that GW had to slowly recoup money to kind of reinvest.
Well, thank God they don't do that anymore.
Because they were so brilliant. Steve-O, me and Steve-O swapped. We swapped brains. What the fuck's going on?
He just got in there quicker.
He's telling all of us to stay on target, and he's been more cynical than me. What the shit is this? Anyway, I'm going to make up for it in a second, though.
It's been a long lockdown, man.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's been fucking me off.
But,
it's only been a month. I thought it was like 5 or 6. What's been going on?
But the Space Marines were so successful that they've become this perpetual thing where apparently only Space Marines sell. Well, if they actually put the effort anywhere else, that would also sell. But
yeah,
you know, they've created a self-fulfilling prophecy, but that's by the by. So when 3rd edition came around, we had the Looted Wagon came along, and it was a brilliant idea because orcs could just nick stuff. It was always part of the lore. You read all the old orc books, Death Skulls nick shit. That's always been a part of their culture, so it was already there. It was one of the things I really liked about Andy Chambers,
and to bring it into the game and represent it within the game like that. He figured out ways to sort of repurpose aspects of Orkdom that was already there, like sporing.
What a great way to get people to buy Lehman Russes and Basilisks and stuff like that as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Unfortunately, now GW doesn't really like that because that involves converting these days, and they don't like that as much as they used to.
Obviously, don't like selling me Imperial vehicles anymore. Then.
Well, I'm sure they do. They just like selling them to Imperial players on the basis of whether or not they're powerful enough. But like conversion isn't what it used to be. But like when us who started around about 3rd edition. We had to convert, pretty much.
Yeah, a lot of the time.
Whole load of stuff that we had in our rules were not represented properly by models, and some of the models were ancient. There's an awful lot of factions that have always kind of had to convert. If you look at the ones who have the biggest converters, you're looking at us. You're looking at Genestealer Cult. Genestealer Cult didn't exist till 7th properly. Chaos. I mean, look how neglected Chaos is. Look how old those freaking Khorne Berserkers are. You know, Dark Eldar and Dark Eldar like rival us for amount of time between love.
Oh yeah.
And improvements and new miniatures. Like they rival us. The ginger head stepchildren in the corner.
Of all factions, I think we've probably got the most in our catalogue that we don't actually have miniatures for, and it's still the case. You know, like they've just removed them from the catalogue
until the Codex called about 30 units. But yeah.
Just get rid of them rather than
rather than
we used to have a codex full of units that they didn't have miniatures for, which gave us the cause to go, well, I don't have one, they don't do one, so I'm going to take one of their tanks and I'm going to take one of these and I'm going to put it together and I'm going to build a battle wagon, you know, because they don't have a miniature.
So it was a fantastic time, wasn't it? The through that third, I think it was we, like you said, we're all similar sort of similar sort of age. Speaking as the oldest one here, I like to say I'm similar vintage. But yeah, that transition from the sort of Rogue Trader second edition, but it did, like I say, it really was sort of third edition where we were getting these updated kits that were very multi-part, which accommodated kit bashing really well. Plus we had, like Scar was saying, a lot of the codexes had examples of kit bashing, how-to guides of kit bashing. The White Dwarf was always full of these conversion ideas and everything. And as you've just said, there was also, in a lot of cases, the necessity to do it. Whereas obviously today, we've, like I say, it's kind of always got full circle. We do still, they're mixed. GW are releasing they're still releasing a lot of multi-part kits. So see some ranges, they come out and they've got a lot of multi-part kits with posability and stuff. And then they've got the other kits go with a lot more of a dynamic, more monopose thing. So there's less. And then we've obviously had the thing with the recent
the portable Gazgul.
Yeah, you go. And then we've got a lot of the monopose, like very static sort of build kits that don't have any options within them and stuff. So it's so is kit bashing and converting dead? Is it dying?
I think GW would like that to happen. I don't. And I'm
I can speak for all of us when you say that.
I'm gonna screaming. I'm screaming and kicking, going out screaming and kicking.
Yeah.
Like,
so
I started a YouTube channel to promote converting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was going to say, I think it falls on the four of us to promote the idea to the younger.
We're not just us four, man. I mean,
no, just us four. Sometimes it fucking feels like it. I tell you.
This whole conversion, smacks of elitism is just the four of us. Just like, you know what I mean.
Dread, you're always ready to lead the good fight, sir, aren't you?
Yes.
But no, I think what you're...
go forth and be victorious.
So, speaking of which, demonetized.
It relies a lot, I think, these days on the community, doesn't it? And the veterans in the community to promote this. And I think it will always be alive and it will always be going. And I think more and more people are crying out for those days to return. And what's been refreshing and relieving for me to see as well is after our October releases of those new buggies, to see like when I saw some of the releases for the Sisters of Battle, to see their kits were modular and different head swaps and posability stuff. So it was like that first when I saw that, even though I had no interest in that range, I'm like,
they're still
okay, good. They're still doing it. They're still. They're not.
To be
it's not their total way to go. Like there are
third-party companies that make parts for Sisters of Battle, like head swaps and stuff like that will obviously fit with them. So they haven't blocked off third parties. And I thought, the whole purpose of stopping having standard sort of like arm socket joints and torso joints and the head joints was so that they could make things difficult for third parties to make stuff that ties in with, which I always thought was a really bad strategy anyway. To try and prevent what's going to happen anyway by doing something by making your product lesser is just a poor practice.
It's a bad long-term strategy.
Yeah, and I think so. Like I've said before, I think orcs are quite often GW's test bed.
I mean, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here and say like that's Dim, prepare yourself. we're saying that assuming that is their goal. I mean, there's also the argument that with their kits, I think a lot of their kits they've gone for this dynamic posing a lot of the time as well.
Yeah,
and there's some kits where they want that, and it does restrict the certain, the posability.
Yeah.
So it's a trade-off. Do you want the posability? Do you want the modularity? Do you want this dynamic posing? I personally would always go for the modular, rather than something leaping off of a cliff and being attached to it by a ribbon or something.
Just with the pausing, thing, just to put the cynical hat on for a minute. When we get a multi-pause unit for a faction that has a reputation for converted stuff, so Dark Eldar, Chaos, or Orcs, sure. When it's just Space Marines or stuff like Space Marines or stuff like Necrons that generally doesn't get converted as much.
And Guard.
Yeah, and Guard. Like, that, to me, won't really count for much until I see it happen to one of the factions that... Because, like, it could just be that they'll do it with us because they feel safe, whereas when it comes to us, we're just going to get monopause after monopause after monopause.
That's
because
a
they
good
want to
point.
kill that
that's
culture.
A good point. And I mean, I hope you're wrong. I really
so
hope
do I.
But I mean, it is. Yeah, that is a good point, and that's why it was, I think, so jarring to us, wasn't it? With the things where it's like you've gone for a very monopose kit to the most customizable, lootable, convertible faction going. It's really odd, a really odd choice and a way to go.
I think you have just made
a lot of pressure from and a lot of stick from that, and I think they did badly in the sales from that too. So I think that I
don't know if they did. I don't know. Did they do badly on the sales for it? I'm not sure they did. I don't know. I think it certainly got them some bad press, certainly amongst sort of gamers of a certain vintage. And the people that like doing that sort of thing, but I think perhaps a lot of the new players and things didn't really.
Well, they could hide could hide that problem behind a mini game that probably people got into. So
for half an hour,
we won't really know. The one thing I would say is that I think GW are probably making somewhat of a mistake. I feel of hyper catering to gamers above all else, and particularly the tournament inclined.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I mean, I'm hoping that what we've seen, the last releases we've had, was a blip, and I'm hoping that the next releases will be better.
Yeah, I think
I hold out hope for that.
I think GW needs to remember that they've got a broader church than that, and they need to remember that they've got other people in the hobby who have other interests and other desires and
look at a more of a long-term business plan, and look at the long-term, thing of it for sure. Yeah. But
I think they limited it down to painting and gaming. So it's like, what gamers want, and then you say dynamic poses, that's for people that are painting, and they're forgetting about people that enjoy the build.
I mean, that's display pieces, isn't it, rather than gaming pieces.
Yeah, but then you have a game that's running on true line of sight, and then you've got one of the squishiest units in the entire fucking game of 40k, aka Howling Banshees, jumping into the air like they're on jump packs, and they're going to be seen behind most terrain. And
good. It makes it easier for us to shoot the fucking pansies.
Yeah, but I mean, that's not really good for game design, is it?
I think I am gonna. We haven't really gone off target, so that's good. So I'm gonna use my host privileges to basically
stay on target.
Yeah, we haven't really needed Nick this video, which is good. So Nick, when we do need you, I'm going to sign that bat signal or that Necron signal in the sky, and you're going to answer the call. But I think we've pretty much covered everything in terms of the.
Congratulations to Nick.
Yep. Congratulations on the.
Oh yeah, hitting the
20,000.
20k. Yeah, well deserved. Well deserved, Nick. We doff our collective caps to you, sir.
Indeed, we do.
And well, this show wouldn't have existed because I would never have got into YouTube.
None of us. Yeah,
they definitely inspired.
Scar would. Scar's the only one.
Well, yeah, I mean, he would have still been here, but we certainly wouldn't be doing this show together.
Doing fuck all as usual.
But yeah, he's Nick, an absolute pillar of the community. So what we will do is we'll make sure we share, even though he hasn't been on this video, we'll share a link down below to his unification group, which we're all members of, which is a cool Facebook group, as well as our Ork community, and a link to his channel, so we can get him up to the 21k and head him towards that 30k. But so I think we all collectively say, except for Dread, that if you don't convert, you are still an Ork player. You're still one of us. Dread was being diplomatic. We all know what you think.
You're one of us, but not one of the proper ones.
They're grots, are they? They're grots. They're not a proper boy.
Yeah.
Hey, my grots are all converted, you fucks.
So yeah,
why didn't we do that before?
They don't get clan traits, do they? They don't get clan traits.
Don't
You're
get
in the
me
faction.
fucking started. Do not get me started. 5 fucking points. 5 fucking.
Oh no, he said it.
No, but we could definitely put the different type of Ork collective into Ork clash.
I am like actually tempted to turn my grots into a grot guard army. It's like, well, if they're the same fucking points, why not? You know what I mean?
Very quickly, back on target, guys. So there's kit bashing and converting for you. Next episode, what are we doing? We are going to get you guys to do the work for us because we're going to be lazy. We're going to get you guys to fill the content of the show because we're going to do a Q&A episode. And so it is your chance to ask the Warbosses anything. Now, you can ask one of us. You can ask...
Hobby related.
You can ask Scar what he thinks about 5-point grots. You can ask Dread why he's so elitist, why don't you consider me a chalk player because I don't convert. You can ask him why he's so bloody happy all the time.
Or you can ask Steve, why are you not wearing that yellow t-shirt?
You jumped in there before I was literally about to say it. So you can ask any of us a individual question. You can ask us collectively. You can ask us a question and get us all to argue, which shouldn't be too hard. But yeah, you can fire your questions. You can share your questions in the comment section of this video. I wouldn't do it in the live chat, guys. If you're watching the live premiere of this, I would comment in the after bit in the actual comment section rather than in the live chat because they'll be hard for us to track and locate. So if you put them in the comment section that will stay there, we'll have them questions ready for the next episode. You can ask us absolutely anything. Whether we answer it will be another matter. And depending on how many questions we get,
I've sort of done that before. It's like certain people have asked ridiculous questions that I'm like, fine, I'll answer. I don't care.
we will.
Talking about.
We will endeavour to answer as many of your questions as possible. Depending on how many questions we get, if we've got too many to fill the show, then we may carry some over to a future Q&A or something.
That'd be ideal, wouldn't it?
And then you can keep us covered for months. We'll just do nothing but Q&A videos. It'll make it very easy for us to make the show. But also, I think, Dim, were you saying pre-show that they could also post questions on the Discord if they prefer to do that?
I was thinking we'll probably make like a specific area of the Discord to just put.
And if we do that, we'll have a link. I take it. We'll put a link in, won't we? We'll have a link to that Discord. So if you prefer to go Discord, we can do that. Or you can just put it in the comment section of
no
this
general
video.
bleeding chit chat either. If it's not question related, it's getting bleeding deleted. All right, sickies.
Bloody hell! There you go. He's spoken on that.
There goes our subscriber count on the downward scale.
Yeah. Don't you dare give us interaction.
Well, look, if it's a section for questions, throw questions in, but don't be having a bleeding conversation out in the middle of it. It's like, oh, not again.
I think the fact that Steve was bewildered by this suggests that Steve does not spend enough time observing the Discord.
Oh, very much so.
Everyone
Yeah, so
who very much have the opinion that
Oh,
me and fucking Scar definitely have. You know who you are.
Now I'm all over it.
I don't know who you are because I don't really get into the Discord very often. I need to try and do that a bit more. I definitely need to try and do that a bit more. But yes, so questions on Discord on this video.
Plenty of the Discord, less of the discordant. Watching you.
Okay, there you go. I'm sure whoever it is knows who if they know you're speaking about them.
I've no idea who he's on about.
I managed to keep this video on target most of the videos. This was with my target today. I was thinking to myself today, I'm keeping them motherfuckers on target today if it kills me. And yeah, just about managed to do it. Don't worry, we've time. Just about managed to do it. So yeah, I think we're pretty much done. There we go. I think it's all is left for us to do is say our goodbyes. So, Dim, do you want to kick us off with some farewells?
Matt Ward.
Touche.
Dread.
Proper orcs convert. Enough said.
Scar.
Don't forget to drill your barrels.
And it's 6+ Stevo signing out. Oh well.
Cracking.
Watching this fuck, I knew it was gonna fucking happen. Fucking hell. Just making sure I ain't got any fucking sweat patches. This fucking heat, man.
Left arm. Yeah.
Oh, fucking hell, fuck that. Right, the outtakes. In the outtakes, I'm going to be wearing a different shirt. Right.
New rulebooks, Dim. New rulebooks.
Oh, Dorothy.
Oh. There it is.
Oh, I've been practicing. Can you tell?
Yeah.
It'll be ages before my BattleTech stuff arrives. I want BattleTech stuff. I just want it now.
Oh yeah, I got this in the local gaming store. I was like, oh, there's BattleTech stuff. I'll have it all, please. There's even like an RPG.
That's something I'll actually have to check. Is if my local hobby store's open again. I'll have to have a look in and see if I've got any BattleTech stuff. Well, I can't this month because I'm fucking skint thanks to that. But next time,
same. Right, here we go.